Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the penultimate round of 2S's Nations Cup, and today we're going around Imola. Currently, we're on board with Chris Witowski, chasing his second win in a row after we had Rupert and Rats take each other out in last round. But it isn't just me on board with Chris. I have a special guest with me here, as always, Mr. Whiskey. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm excited for this race. Imola is a very, very historic track. A lot of very rich history here, both in sim racing and real racing as well. We have 75 minutes of racing coming up, which is the longest race so far. They just keep getting longer and longer. And in the 75-minute race, there's going to be 3 minimum pit stops for each of the drivers for fuel. So it's going to be a lot of interesting strategy. I'm sure we'll see the order get shaken up quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to it.
We definitely are. I mean, Imola, as you said, alongside Monza, it's really some of the biggest, names in track history. Of course, you get Spa and Silverstone. But, when we're talking about Italy itself, tell me if I'm wrong here. I might have my facts wrong. But, Monza and Imola, two of the most popular tracks in that region that, we know of. But as I said, free fuel pit stops. It's going to be crazy, isn't it, Chris? I mean, strategy-wise, people are going to try for undercuts, overcuts. It's going to be mad.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see, because most of these guys, at least in the 2S GT3 races, their maximum that they usually do is 60-minute races, 1-hour races. And so this 75-minute race is a little bit more than they're used to. And so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a little bit more of an endurance type race as well. They're gonna have to stay very consistent, not make those silly mistakes at the end that you see happen sometimes in longer races. And 3 pit stops is a lot for a race. So yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of different strategies, different people taking different approaches. And I think we have a really good race ahead of us. Imola is a great track. It's changed throughout the years, but it's always kept its very specific flavor of racing. And it's got very fast corners. It's got corners that are very interesting to take. And if you don't get it right, then you can easily be spinning off. So it's very unforgiving.
Yeah, it's a brilliant track. I think F1 has raced here. We've seen GT3. We've seen, I think, Formula 2 as well. I think Formula 2... Oh, as we see Rupert. Oh, my word. Rupert drifting there. Wow, Rupert just did a bit of a drift. I'm going to see if we can get a replay on that. But yeah, no, a lot of series is racing at Imola. And as you said, it makes a certain type of race, It has a lot of action. It's fast. And, I mean, to be quick around Imola... I do think, Whiskey, there are some places you really need to be a bit brave, don't you? You need to bite the bullet, and you need to be a bit brave, because it isn't, what these guys are going to try and do today definitely isn't easy. But I do want to ask you, Whiskey, we've had, unfortunately, last race, Rupert and Rats, having, getting into each other. Okay, well, that sounded weird. Getting into a collision with each other, and, unfortunately, both tumbling down the order. So now, my question is, how, them heading into this race, first of all, those two heading into this race, what do you think their mindset is in terms of, last time they were P1 and P2, almost like they are now. Rats unfortunately P3 right now, ahead of him, Chris, of course. But what do you think's Rupert's and Rats's mindsets? Are they, do you think they're going to be a bit kind of scared and shy and kind of keep it back a bit, or do you think they're just going to go full send and say, listen, what happened, I just need to do my best?
I think they're going to go full send. I don't see them backing off at all. If anything, what happened last week will energize and invigorate them to try and perform at their highest. I definitely, hopefully they get a little bit more sense of what's around them. Not saying who was at fault last weekend, but just a sense of awareness is extremely important, especially down turn 1 of any race. And Imola's got to not a crazy turn one. It's got a pretty fast. It's a pretty long straight, and it's not like a crazy braking zone. It's still a braking zone, but it's not, you know, ridiculous like Nürburgring was. Nürburgring, it's downhill, it's tight, it's more than 90 degrees, and this one, I don't think it's a little more than 90 degrees. It's kind of like a chicane, but yeah.
I mean, to be quite fair,
As we see qualifying, yeah, go ahead.
as we see Varlango there go off. But yeah, to be quite fair, you know, as you were saying there, it is still a chicane. It isn't 90 degrees, but it is Monza-esque in terms of chicane. And we all know chicanes in GT3 cars, they don't match that well, do they, Whiskey? But that is your qualifying wrapped up, folks, then. So, Rupert leading, as he did in the Nürburgring, I think. I think he led from P1 and then Orlando P2. Am I correct? Can I get a... Whiskey, you might need to fact check that. But, one way or the other...
I think it was... Yeah.
I mean, whichever way, those two are both on the top steps again, aren't they? Rupert and Orlando Rats, P1 and P2. Chris, P3, only 5/100ths off Rats, so he does have a chance in this race. Van Hudding then in P4, Illinger P5, Luce P6, Samuel in P7. P8 goes to Lars, P9 Christian Stricker, P10 Nico Veldman, P11 Bailey Thompson, P12 Antoine Olivet, P13 Timo Brown, P14 Romes Jensen, and P15 Ryan Noppen. We're just gonna go through the top 15 for now, and I think we'll shift our attention to the back of the grid while we wait for the session start. So P16 goes to Oliver Stricker, a few places away from his brother. Federcio Varangnolo lines up in P17. P18 is Jack Biddle, followed by Carol, I'm not going to try and say that, Carol in P19, Kennedy Chikeka in P20, Hubert in P21, followed by Nick, you told me how to say this, Whiskey. You told me how to say it, but I can't remember it. How do you say that? Nick's surname? Kanonov. Okay. Nick Kanonov in P22. P23 goes to Andrew Moulton. P24 goes to Michal. And P25, at the back of the grid, goes to Jurgen Visser. Of course, turn 1 is a deadly place, Whiskey. Do you think, someone like Visser, if he just keeps it clean and keeps it healthy, you can gain a few positions off turn 1?
Definitely. And if I'm not mistaken, Urian doesn't like to qualify. It might be Urian, and so it's kind of normal to see him at the back of the grid because for some reason he doesn't like qualifying, and so he usually does pretty good. And yeah, being in the back of the grid, of course you're at the back of the grid, but it also gives you a little bit of buffer room and a little bit of reaction time to get out of the way if something goes wrong and capitalize off of mistakes of people, hitting each other with the armadillo effect, of course, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Just real quick,
yeah.
with almost... Oh, go ahead.
No, continue.
So, a little bit more than a minute left. I just wanted to take us through an imaginative lap. We have the straight, which isn't very straight. It's got a little bit of kinks into it, but we have a straight that is followed by Tamburello, which is a very open chicane, still very fast. Tamburello takes you straight onto into Villeneuve, which is another cane, and then that takes you to Tosa, which is a right turn, which is it's probably one of the slowest parts of the track, and then that turns you onto another straight. This is basically a bunch of turns connected by very straight straights for the most part.
Very straight.
That takes you to Piratella, which takes you to probably one of the more complicated parts of the track, Acqua Minerale, which we'll see pretty soon up here, and then it takes you to Variant.
Ooh. Whiskey, hello. Oh, folks, I think we might have lost Whiskey there. We are struggling a bit with the connection. Whiskey, can you hear me? Oh, I think we might have lost Whiskey there, unfortunately, folks. Wait for him to come back. Yeah, it's just the region in Discord currently. Not ideal. I might actually private call him here in a second once he gets back. But it is now our formation lap underway with Rupert leading our formation there. Rupert, of course, didn't finish as well as he would have liked in the previous race, but he is here, he is determined, and he will finish this race, I think. Is in his mind in P1 to P3, hopefully P1 for him. Orlando Raston, the beautiful Aston, following him and not too close on the formation lap. You know, maybe a bit of mind games here. But the person who is following very close is this man, Chris Witalski at P3, last race's race winner. He wants to replicate that. He's only a 10th and a half off Rupert, so if he gets a turn 1, folks, do not take him out of the picture. Then Ruben van Hudding in that beautiful in that beautiful BMW, saw him fight for his life in a previous race, and he definitely knows how to. Don't take him out of contentions yet. And then rounding up the top 5 is Nico Veltman, of course, extremely fast as well. He does have the odd mistake here or there, but really good racer, and definitely someone we also have to watch out for. I think him and Ruben might have a bit of a tussle when we start this race, but hey, we'll see. We see some tire warm-ups here. We can have a look at the back of the grid. Lars in P8. Not really minding a tire warm-up, just kind of driving. You know, who needs warm tires, right? Who needs warm tires? Well, look at Antoine Olivet. I hope I said that correctly. Of course, did extremely well last race. Absolute amazing drive, defended for his life. He will hope for a turn 1 like last time. He can just speed past. We'll see if that happens. Not going to say anything, but I think he hopes it happens. Timo Brown, of course, he is currently streaming on YouTube as well. You guys can go watch his perspective as well if you want to. But yeah, really fast. Last race, decent result, but I think he could... I think if he was really pushing, he might have been able to do a bit better. So we'll see what he can do today. But then, let's go back up the field. Whiskey has just messaged me. Yeah, I can hear you fine. My internet might be... Okay, Whiskey, what we will do is, I'm just going to private call you, and then we can play around with the region a bit. I'll call you real quick. But Whiskey is alive, folks. Don't worry. Whiskey is indeed alive. We're just going to get him... Just going to get a... Put it... Where do we put it? We'll put it somewhere like... Yeah, I'm thinking... Somewhere in the middle of us, too. Just so you can get a decent connection. Whiskey, can you hear me, my friend?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and you sound a lot better. I don't see you cutting out. Everything sounds good. I like this. I like this a lot. Whiskey, we're lining up on the grid. If you would excuse me, I'm going to take us through lap 1. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Please keep an eye on us out for any drama if I miss it, because I am probably going to miss it. You guys know how I am. But yeah, can you believe it? Here we go. Round 3 out of 4, Whiskey. I can't believe this. I honestly cannot believe this. Folks, as we line now up, as we're going around the last corner here, I assume that counts as a corner, onto the pit straight. That is Rupert, once again, leading from Rats, from Witalski, from Ruben, and from Nico Veltman. And here we go. Any moment here, it is going to be green and go. Let's wait for those flags. Wait for the acceleration. Who's going to get a better jump? And that question is going to be answered... Now it is green, green, green. Here we go. Rupert getting an amazing start. Rats diving into that slipstream. And not much yet. Chris Witalski being under attack by Ruben van Hudding. Ruben goes outside. He goes for Rats. And Chris and Ruben touch. Oh no! Chris! There's massive drama behind with Chris Witalski. Massive drama. He's taken... Oh, I think he tagged someone else as well. Massive drama for Chris. That is really bad. Chris going to now fall down the order. That was really bad for him. Not the start he would have wanted. Neither for Ruben van Hudding. He unfortunately got tagged by Chris and just, yeah, not their day. We are going to try and make our way up here. Felix still at the top. Orlando following him. Orlando not being able to make the move. Nico Veltman now moves up into P3. he does already have a 1.4 second gap to Rats, so Rats not feeling the pressure from him. Ben Lewis being chased by Illinger in that Audi behind him. Of course, that is the Germans versus the Japanese. We'll see what happens there. But right behind Illinger is Mr. Christian Stricker, also extremely good and very fast. But the one thing that Christian has to watch out for is Antoine right behind him. We've seen some pace out of the Lamborghini, and I think we're going to see a lot of it, a lot more of it. Lars looking at Antoine. We'll see if can he get it inside. Can he get it inside? It looks like he might. If he can keep his car wide enough, he might. Oh, they're going head to head. Will Antoine be able to fight back? No, he won't, and he concedes the position to Lars. Lars now moving up with that Lexus. Antoine not the start he would have wanted, but life is unfortunately that way. Samuel now on his outlap. He did miss the start. He's quite far behind the field, but he doesn't have to worry too much because Kennedy is just a bit in front of him. And in front of Kennedy is, unfortunately for this man, Chris Witkowski, your race winner last time. Unfortunately, the same happened to him as there happened with the previous winners in the Nürburgring, and he has unfortunately been spun off as we head onto lap 2 here. Whiskey, what happened on that first lap?
If I'm being honest, when I came back to the game, everybody was still lined up, stopped on the grid, so I had to exit the server and come back. I didn't see the initial connection between them and Ruben, but after that, yeah, I'm gonna have to leave it to you to talk about that first lap. Right now, I do see Felix and Orlando are just pulling away from the rest of the cars, though. They're doing an incredible job with their pace.
Already at 2 second gap. Yeah, no, we will talk about, we'll of course, rewind it eventually and, have a bit of a look into that incident that happened in turn 1. But it just looked to me that, if I had to be honest, it looked like Ruben tried to be a bit too opportunistic. And tried to make a move on Chris and Orlando. And, when Orlando shut the door, he was kind of in the awkward position towards Chris, and Chris couldn't get on the brakes late enough and unfortunately hit him, and that spun both of them. Chris, I think, did tag one more person, but it doesn't look like anything serious, so that should be fine. But now, as you said, Mr. Risky, Rupert setting the fastest lap, a 1:42.202, but I think those laps should speed up even more. Being followed by the Rats just not having the straight line speed. Rupert there pulling a 2/10 gap on that straight, and as you said, Nico Veltman already 2 seconds behind, isn't he? Isn't he, Whiskey? I mean, those two out front really keeping their pace. Nico trying to hold on, just can't quite. But really, they're really putting a gap to the rest of the field, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah, and we do see this sometimes. Is these guys kind of in a league of their own, and just whatever they did to prepare for this weekend, or if they're really, really good at this track, you can see it in the pace, especially when it happens over time, that they just seconds keep getting added behind them, between them and the rest of the pack. It's just incredible. But the rest of the pack is still, each car is basically under 1 second between each other. It's still very, very close for the middle of the pack.
No,
we see a lot of tussling around.
It definitely is. I want to have a look at Bailey Thompson here. It's behind the Lamborghini of Antoine. A bit faster than Antoine on that previous lap. Antoine not having the pace just as of yet. But I mean, Whiskey, that's kind of the difference, isn't it, between one lap pace and race pace? Because, someone might be extremely fast on over 1 lap, low fuel, good track conditions, but when it gets to the race, full fuel, tires might not be so good, then they struggle a lot, don't they?
Yeah, that can happen sometimes, that someone is just really good at quality, and when it comes to the race itself, they're just not the same performance, because it's a different mindset and it's a different skill set altogether, being fast and being consistent. You have to be a bit of both.
No, definitely. I think you have to be a really all-rounded person in those situations. But this man, Timo Braun, already pitting. And that was going to be my second question to you, Whiskey, is that I think Timo, just did a bit of a dash and splash and dash there. But the thing is you know, of course, these drivers, you know, they need to be talented. There has to be a bit of luck. But, you know, if you were racing in this, right, and you said, listen, you have to make 3 fuel pit stops. 3, right? Now, theoretically, a full tank should be able to go the whole way, or most of it. Do you just kind of do what Timo has done and just do kind of splashes and dashes at the start? And just, you know, leave it up to later and just, you know, slowly catch it back? What would you personally do? As we see Nick Kononov parked up here. No, Nick, what are you doing? Oh, Nick, no! Nick has contact there. What if I think that was, I'm not quite sure who that was. I think it was Bidell. Oh, Nick, no! Nick pulling out unsafely here. Look at this, folks. Sorry, Whiskey, I'll get back to you in a second. Nick just on the grass, spins it, and then for some reason he hits the wall, and then for some reason doesn't look at the traffic as well as he should. The GTR avoiding him, goes front again, McLaren avoiding him, but he just isn't looking, and there's the Lexus, and oh, he just hits him so hard. Oh no, oh, Nick's probably going to have a few complaints about that. That was not ideal, Nick. That was not ideal. Okay, Whiskey. Do we want to talk about that incident first? Do we want to talk about the strategies first? What do you want to talk about? Whiskey. Okay. Whiskey's internet, everyone, has died. He has told me he's died, so he'll say when he's back. But yeah, what? Oh, that's so bad. Poor Nick. Yeah, just... Oh, he didn't look when he pulled out, and that Lexus just came too fast and couldn't move. But Nico Veltman keeping his pace, not catching the leaders, but he is keeping his pace towards them, and he is barely staying with them, but hey, he is there. Illinger then behind, and he's being chased by Lewis, I'm gonna say Lewis, in that Lexus. The Japanese team looking really feisty today, with 3 cars in the top 6, and then I think 4 cars in the top 10, if I'm not incorrect. Ladies and gentlemen, if you need a reminder of how the Nations Cup works, basically every people race under their chosen nations, and then those nations then have their own tracks and cars. So Imola is of course representative of the Italians, who have Ferrari and Lamborghini, I believe. And then over the 4 different nations, we have 4 different races with all these cars, and then at the end we'll tally up which nation scored the most points. Sorry, words are not working for me today. And then we'll be able to have a look who won. Mr. Whiskey, are you back?
Possibly.
Did you?
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you see the collision that we had?
I saw the result of the collision, and currently my game is still frozen. So, yeah, I'm kind of out. Sitting out to dry right now, unfortunately. But
it's fine.
I know you did ask me before what pit strategy I would personally take, and I think Timo is doing a pretty smart decision, because at the beginning of the race everybody's all bunched up, so you want to have as much performance as possible, and so I think it was smart of him to go low on fuel initially, just power out as well as you can do initially, and then go for longer stints after that.
I do have to say, I do have to agree with you. You know, Chris Witalski, you see him pitting for his first stop. Now, folks, this might sound crazy, but don't take Chris Witalski out of your top 10 rosters just yet. You know, Whiskey, we have seen races can change, you know, and with 3 pit stops, Chris, I think, is going to surprise us. You know, he's already up to P16, so I do definitely think this man, you still have to watch out for Chris. Yes, he might be down in P18, no, P20 right now, but I think, Whiskey, I do think we have to watch out for Chris. He's gonna still be a deadly force in this race, isn't he?
Definitely, and especially with his history, he's an incredible driver, so I never really discount him on anything.
But who we also shouldn't discount is Mr. Ruben van Hudding. I mean, he's just set. I think he has just come out of the pits and set the fastest lap. And no, okay, he's pitting now. Well, whatever has happened, Ruben is pitting now, and he did set the fastest lap of the race there. So I'm thinking, honestly, the thing is the pace that these guys show, because you know we've seen a lot of, as we were talking about the splash and dash, you know. Ruben as well, unfortunately had that accident. But I mean, if they can just, get that quick fuel up and really get where they need to be quick, I think Whiskey, Ruben as well as Chris, yeah, we shouldn't discount them. They're going to be amazing. Might just be me, but I think these drivers, they're extremely skilled, and they deserve to be in that top 10. I think they will prove it to us.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be really interesting to see how these pit stops play out, and if someone has a trick up their sleeve for these pit stops on how to gain some positions. And I don't know if you have mentioned this yet, but it looks like Ollie Stricker does have a stop-go 30.
I did not mention it, but now we can see it.
Very unfortunate for Ollie.
That is really bad, isn't it? Oh, you don't want that in a race like this. Not today. But Timo Brown, he is chasing down the Lexus of Lars. We've seen some amazing things from Timo as well, already making a pit stop. Extremely smart move of him. And, of course, Lars also making one. But we have seen some better pace out of Timo than we have out of Lars. I do want to ask, the thing is, how can I ask this question to you, Whiskey? What do you think is going to be the determining factor of this race? Some races, it's a short race, it's based on skill. Other races, it's based barely, only on strategy. Sometimes based on both. Sometimes it's based on, you just being patient. What do you think is going to be the main determining factor of where these guys end up today?
I think it's a bit of both, because it's not so long that it would be really called an endurance race.
I would hope not.
And I've driven a 2.4 hour race, and that was a great time. I'm definitely not an alien. I'm not an incredible driver, but I placed well at the end because I practiced the track, I practiced consistency, and I knew what my pit strategy was going to be going into the race. So I think for those who might not be a Felix Rupert or Orlando Rats with their alien skill, they can kind of make up for it in longer races if they have a smart plan going into it. So yeah, I think you will see the Felix Ruperts and Orlando Rats in the front, but you might see someone else in P3 that have just gotten the plan right and gotten their strategy right.
I do definitely agree. I have a slight feeling, when it comes to pit stop strategies, as you said, Ruperts and Rats, absolute aliens. If they just pull a big enough gap, they can do 3 stops, 3 stops directly after each other, and they'll still be in the top 10. So these guys, as you said, are absolutely amazing and aliens. But that might be the thing. We already see almost a second gap between Rupert and Orlando. But I do have to say, Whiskey, for these two, it is quite literally just a thing of, just be consistent, be consistently fast, be consistent at the track, and then if you're those two things, you'll get an extremely good race result. But also, as you said, for people like Timo, who might perfect their strategy in terms of pits, they have an extremely good chance as well of, at one point, getting up there, being on a podium just because it is that good. But Varangallo, Federico, has just got a stop-and-go penalty for 30 seconds. What are these stop-and-go 30-second penalties for, Whiskey? Do you have any idea?
It could be a few things. Probably, I would say it might be them being a little greedy on the track limits. If they were getting warnings and just over and over. I personally, to be quite honest, I have only owned this DLC for about 20 minutes at this point, so I'm not quite sure what ACC's Imola track limits are like, but they might be pushing them a bit a bit hard, and the game might be pushing a bit back. Another thing is that actually I do think that might be because Verniolo hasn't pit. Another thing I could have thought was speeding in the pit lane.
It could be as
he
well.
hasn't pit yet. Yeah, it looks like Ollie Stricker just did his stop go 30. But yeah, Verniolo hasn't pit yet, so he didn't get his from anything in the pit lane. I don't know if ACC has some sort of ruling for unsportsmanlike conduct.
I don't think it does.
But
oh, there he goes.
And that also might be it.
Efrain Galanos in the pits to serve his stop and go 30, which, to be quite fair, we do have to talk. You know, it isn't just a stop and go 30 penalty. It's a stop and go 30 penalty, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, in a race you already have to do 3 pit stops. To add a 4th one that is, you know, longer than the initial, you know, than a regular pit stop. I mean, that's absolutely mad, isn't it? You know, it's gonna lose them a lot of time. And in a race like this, doesn't matter how good your race strategy is. I think if that happens with you, I think your race, it's definitely gonna take a turn, and I don't think it's gonna be for the best.
Definitely, and I think this kind of a race, we have 57 minutes left. It's on the cusp of you can't really recover and go back to where you were after a stop go 30 in this kind of race, because you know a stop go 30 has several parts to it. You stop and go, which means you can't do anything to your car, if I'm not mistaken. You can't refuel or put new tires on, and there's 30 seconds of you just sitting there. So a stop go 30 is basically like stopping on track for an entire lap's worth, and so you're gonna have to completely unlap yourself, and it's just not, yeah, definitely not ideal.
It is quite literally the definition of a useless pit stop, isn't it? That's all it is. Yeah. It's just a useless pit stop. But Nico Veltman now, the gap in front is now 7.4 seconds, but he is actually being caught by the guys behind him, Illinger and Lewis. Yeah, Nico's pace just not there, and he has to pick it up again, Whiskey, otherwise he'll be in a bit of danger. But Rupert and Orlando, so I do want to work this out. So let's say the average pit stop is 25 seconds, right?
Okay.
Or you know what? Okay, let's make it 30 seconds. So let's say a pit stop is 30 seconds. So for Rupert, who's currently in P1, so 30 seconds would take him, so that's 9 seconds. 9 seconds is P4, right? Then add another 13, let's say 15 seconds, so that's 24, yeah, around there, 24 seconds. And then, so someone like Rupert could theoretically come out in front of Jensen, who is currently a P9. I mean, you know, the race leader, if he comes out there, I mean, that's a blast for him, isn't it? I mean, you know, then all he has to do is wait for everyone in front to pit, and then do it again, and do it again. So Rupert must be in quite a comfortable position, isn't he, Whiskey?
Definitely, and that is something that you want to point out, that we can point out, is everybody in the back is done a pit stop, and so everybody in the front of the grid, or the front of the pack, I guess, right now, is still have to do all 3 pits. And so, you know, if Rupert does pit, he's not really going to have to overtake anybody. I mean, I'm sure he will, just because of his raw pace, but those people are going to have to pit eventually. And so Rupert does have a good amount of control right now, and I'm very curious to see who's going to pit first, Rupert or Orlando, because if Rupert does pit first, Orlando has to worry about an undercut, and if Orlando pits first, Rupert has to worry about him getting on fresher tires before him. So it's very much going to be a reactive type thing, but yeah, I'm interested to see who's going to pit first. We are about 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the race,
as you
and
said,
there
that
goes Orlando Rats.
Orlando Rats into the pit. But see, Orlando now does have a problem, because Rupert has been constantly faster than Orlando. Orlando has only been able to hold in, I think, in the middle sector. So the thing is Rupert's pulling a 2/10 gap to Orlando each and every single lap, right? And then, of course, you know, Orlando gains at gains time back in the middle sector. But the thing is, you know, 2 tenths isn't a lot, Whiskey, but is it enough to potentially minimize the damage of an undercut on Rupert? I mean, you know, for all we know, you know, Rupert could just have free splash and dashes, you know? His fuel tank could be full to the brim and it could almost take him all the way, and all he has to do is stop, 5 seconds, they're just, you know, glugging a few bit of fuel in, and then he goes again. So it's going to be extremely interesting as we see Orlando Rats having a fast pit stop, joining P6. What do you think? Do you think the undercut will work on Rupert? Do you think it'll work?
I'm not quite sure. You know, I don't know how strong the undercut is here, but it all depends on how Rupert drives, or how Felix drives this next lap, and I'm sure he's going to respond with pitting. Now, if he doesn't, I'll be very surprised.
Well, let's... You know what? Let's go on board with him for a lap, and then see at the end of the lap if he pits. Why not? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, I assume. But yeah, no, Imola, of course, as you said, a beautiful track, isn't it? As Rupert just passed the pits. He just said, no, I'm not gonna pit. No, commentators, you guys are wrong. He's not gonna undercut me. Why would you think such a thing? No, but that just shows, I mean, you know, we make our predictions, Whiskey, and, you know, we can say whatever we like, but at the end of the day, some of these racers, they have a plan, and they will do anything to have to stick with it, because some of their plans are genius, but I think sometimes that backfires, but I think in this case, we might not see it backfire, but I have to agree with you. I think Rupert will probably pit soon, probably before 40 minutes of time, just to get that first stop in so he has enough time to do the other 2 stops.
Yeah, and like I said before, I am surprised that he didn't pit, but what that means is he probably still feels very comfortable on those tires.
Do they have to change tires, actually? That was my follow-up question. Do they have to change tires? Because, I mean, if it's just if you only have to pit for how can I say this? If you only have to pit for fuel and you don't have to pit for tires, that could speed things up as well. Those tires could theoretically last that distance, but they will be hurting.
That is, yeah, you're right. You know, he might just be on a different fuel plan. I didn't think about going to the pits and just not changing your tires. That, depending on how the tires do feel, because these tires, depending on how many laps they last. Right now, he's 13 laps into the race, 14 now, and if his tires feel fine, then he can just keep on going. And I guess what this really shows is that Rats cut fuel. He didn't put as much fuel into his tank, and Rupert kind of put it in for the long game, which actually means that Rupert was probably a bit heavier than Orlando for those first, 12 laps that they were right next to each other.
Which makes it even more interesting that Rupert was able to be that fast, comparing him to Rats. I mean, being that fast on heavier fuel than your opponent, that's hard, especially for the level these guys are on. So, at the end of the race, I honestly think we might see some mega pace coming out of Rupert. I think his pace might be out of this world, because if that was him on heavy fuel, I don't know if I want to see him on light fuel. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. And something else that we need to address here is, Orlando was right behind Rupert the entire time. So what we could kind of get from that is, was it Rupert's speed that was keeping him ahead of Orlando?
Oh, I think we have lost Whiskey again, folks. We'll wait for Whiskey to come back. I think his internet is just having a bit of a day. But we're currently looking at... so that's actually Christian Stricker, folks. Bailey Thompson currently chasing down Olive, but he isn't able to get to Olive because Christian, who is a back marker, is currently lapping faster than them and passing them all. That's something interesting to see. Whiskey, are you back? I heard a slight voice from Whiskey. Whiskey? Whiskey!
Hello?
Hello! There you are, you're back. Hello! Hello, Miss
Hello.
Whiskey. Okay, you were saying, sorry, let's continue that conversation. You were saying...
Where did you lose me?
I have absolutely no idea. I would love to tell you,
I
but I can't remember where I lost you because you going just kind of threw off my focus.
I was just talking about Rupert's defensive driving. And
Yes.
yeah. So how we're not quite, I guess we will see it here once Rupert hits, if it was Rupert's speed that kept him up in front of Orlando, or if it was his defensive driving that kept Orlando behind. Because if Rupert pits and he comes out behind Orlando, that will mean that it was his defensive driving. Because they were very close together, which means that Orlando is able to keep up with him. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's something we'll see. I mean, Rupert still hasn't pit. He now has a 25, 20... I mean, his current gap is almost over, if not over 40 seconds to Rats. So, that's... I mean, Rupert can almost do 2 pit stops in that time, which is amazing. We'll see how that turns out. But, I do want to talk about something real quick. I want to talk about Chris Witalski. Currently in P15, he unlapped himself twice. Unlapped himself from Antoine Olivet, and behind Olivet is Bailey Thompson. And Chris taking the bullet as Timo Braun, biting the bullet and saying, listen, I've already done 2 of my pit stops. I only have 1 to go, and I'm just going to... I assume, at this point, he's going to pull a gap behind him, and then he's just going to pit 1 more time and just go to the end of the race.
That is very possible. It's gonna be interesting how the order gets shaken up and who we'll see on top. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of mind games too with this because of these pits.
Yeah.
When they're going and if they're staying out, what is that gonna make their opponent think too? I'm just trying to get back into the server.
No, take your time. I do want to point something out. So Rupert still 2/10 a lap faster than Orlando. I mean, I don't know where Rupert is pulling this pace out of. I'm going to be honest, but he's doing absolutely amazing. He already has a 22-second gap to Christian behind him, a 28-second gap to Olivet, a 29-second gap to Thompson, and then 29 plus 15, that's 30. That's 45 second to Jensen, and then a 48-second gap now to Orlando Rats. I mean, Rupert can basically here, if he does have 2 short pit stops, he can, or all his pit stops are short, he can fit 2 of them in right now, which would be amazing. But Whiskey, I want to ask you: is Rupert aware that he has to pit 3 times? Because he hasn't pit once, and it's 45 minutes. Like we might need to talk to him because I have a feeling he is not aware of this rule.
Yeah, that is very I'm interested to see, because there are a good amount of drivers that haven't pit yet, and then there's drivers like Chris Witkowski and Timo that already pit twice. So I don't know if it's just it's been a half hour of the race. It's very interesting tactic. I wonder if it's going to play out for them in the end.
I hope for Rupert that I hope for Rupert that I hope it plays out for him. As I said, Chris Witalski, now he's unlapped himself a million times. Current car ahead of him is car 51 that is driven by Christian Stricker, actually. So Witalski is now following Christian Stricker. Christian, of course, not made a single stop. So I think Christian's I mean, I would never want to say, you know, his race going bad, but, you know, not pitting and having someone that's already pitted twice behind you coming to unlap himself, that's a pretty scary thought to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks like Christian is. I think my standings is strange. Is Christian P2?
Relative, maybe a relative P2, but no, he is not P2 currently. He's P16. So yeah, no, unfortunately, he's currently P16. Maybe try press.
For Stricker?
Yeah, Christian Stricker. No, sorry, crap. We were thinking of two. Sorry, we were talking about two different people. Christian Stricker is currently P2, yes, because everyone ahead of him has pitted, or who were ahead of him at the time, like Orlando. And then I'm talking about Chris Witalski. He's in P16. But yeah, Christian Stricker currently in P2, but he does have a 20-odd second gap to Rupert in front. Sorry, which is not ideal. It's actually less than ideal. As Bailey Thompson has gotten past Olivier finally, Olivier, of course, defends for his life everywhere. I don't know how he does it, but absolutely amazing defending from Olivier. He could definitely become a defending coach. He does it really, really, really well, doesn't he? Yeah, gap between Rupert and Christian Stricker, 23 seconds as Rupert pits. Sorry, I just saw that. Rupert now pulling into the pits. Where is he going to come out? Where do you think he's going to come out, Whiskey?
Unfortunately, I think you might lose me soon because my game and Discord are having a bit of a mess right now.
Would you want to restart your PC and then you can join back in a bit?
I might just restart my router.
Just I will take.
I'm gonna take a little bit and see if I can get this issue sorted, so I'm not just constantly going in and out. But yeah, hopefully I can get back onto the commentary.
Okay, take your time. I will commentate, and as we say that, our race leader here, Mr. Rupert, comes out right behind Christian Stricker, which is extremely good for him. But behind him is Orlando Rats. So Rupert having a long stop there and is now being chased down by Orlando. Not quite sure what happened there. I might have had my gaps wrong. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Rupert having a bit of a longer stop there, and now Orlando is right on his tail. But Rupert's still faster than Rats. I want to have a look at Christian Stricker. I've been talking about the guy forever. He has quite a sizable gap now behind him, but he is being unlapped by the man himself, Mr. Chris Witalski. Chris, of course, horrible lap 1 incident, went from P3 all the way down to P16, or I think P18, and now he has fought his way back, fighting as hard as that Bentley will allow him, and he is about to lap our race leader. Sorry. But yeah, Rupert and Olivier, of course, as they always do, going head to head. As you see, Christian Stricker there pitting, and that gives Chris Witalski a bit of open air to work with, and now he can just go. Just one pit stop left for Chris, so we'll see what he can do in this race. Bailey Thompson, then, your race leader. Oh no, sorry, Olivier, your race leader. Somehow Olivier got back past Bailey, and Olivier, the race leader. Well done, Olivier, but he still has free stops, and the guys behind him do not have those free. Rupert still under attack by Rats. Rats looks for the move, doesn't find that angle, and he's going to have to stay behind for as far as he is concerned. But yeah, Rupert I don't think he wanted to come out there. A bit close to Orlando there for Rupert's liking, if I had to say. Now, folks, rest of the field, Bailey Thompson, Antoine Olivier, really the closest battle I think we have right now. Nothing I wouldn't say there isn't much in front, but I mean, those two going head to head, really putting it. I do apologize, folks. I'm just trying to get the stream up on my phone here, so I can have a look at chat. Just keep an eye on that as well. Okay, I do have it back up, and now let's have a look. What is happening in the rest of the field? Do we have anything interesting happening? Christian Stricker then coming out P11. Not the ideal stop for him. Let's have a look. Orlando Rats still on Rupert's bumper, but it does look like Rupert is still somehow faster. Rupert is getting faster and faster somehow. Christian Stricker, P14. Sorry, I did an update. Give you guys the wrong update there. He's P14, but right behind him, Chris Witkowski in that P15, beautiful blue Bentley. If only one stop left, Chris has 2 in front of him. I mean, most of the people have more than 2 in front of him. Chris now theoretically the leaders of all the people on the only 1 stop left, and he is doing a damn good job at it. Look at him pushing as far as he can. That is what we're going to look at now, is Ruben van Hudding. Now, of course, Ruben and Chris Witkowski coming together on the first lap. Interesting thing is Ruben actually has another stop left while Chris doesn't. So Chris is probably going to get ahead of his fellow of his friendly German, who he had an incident there with on turn 1, and we'll see how that goes. Let me just have a look real quick if we can get Whiskey back. Whiskey saying he's online, so we'll just give him a second here to hopefully join back sometime. Felix Rupert in for his second stop, undercutting now Orlando Rat. So Felix decided, you know what, I'm going to undercut Orlando. He's not going to pressure me anymore. Let's see what he can do. So Felix now with 1 stop left, Orlando with 2 stops left. What is going to happen there, folks? I mean, the smart move from Orlando would now be to respond to that and pit as soon as he can, because he isn't as fast as that man that was in front of him. But on the other hand, who knows if that is a good idea. Orlando just catching lap traffic here. Bailey Thompson still chasing Antoine. This is going to be a battle for ages, folks. I mean, I would say Olive just needs to pit now. He just needs to dive into the pits and get an undercut on Thompson. But I mean, no. Apparently they're just going to stay like that. So I wouldn't be able to tell you all what is happening in their minds when it comes to strategy. But I guess we'll see at the end of the race. Orlando Rats, where is he? Is he going to pit? He did go past the start finish straight and he did not pit, so I think he's doing the same as we saw our previous race leader, Mr. Rupert, do, and he might just be staying out for quite a bit. Nico Veltman then into the pits for his second stop, I believe, and to take him down only to 1 stop and to hopefully get him in a good place once he exits. Following behind him, I think that's Lars. Yes, that is indeed the Lexus of Lars. Those two fighting and just having the exact same pit strategy, I think. Nico Veltman then also... wait, no, sorry, not Nico. I was talking about Ryan Noppen. Ryan Noppen then also into the pits. A bit behind the rest, but he is putting it to pits, getting his stop. And then it looks like somehow Nico and... I don't know how, folks, but these two, sorry, that is Noppen and Lars. Wait, do I have this wrong? No, it is. No, it is Nico. I was about to say, it looked a bit weird there for a second on my screen. Nico and Lars behind him somehow going out at the exact same time. But as we say that, Lars gets awarded with a stop and go for 30 seconds. So that will now give open air to Nico. And Lars has maybe just, unfortunately, lost everything he could have hoped for in that pit stop. He's now going toe-to-toe with Nico. He has... Oh, and he's gone off! Poor Lars. I mean, he's getting a stop and go, going off, having both of the BMWs pass you there. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal for Lars. We'll see what he can do. Can he come back there? Can he come back? Can he come back? Let's see what happens. So Nico leading. I'm just trying to find out who that BMW is that he's battling with. It's definitely a back marker. Have a look in a second. But yeah, no, Lars, not ideal for him. Not what he would have wanted any day. Is it Nico? I think it's Nico, yeah. Okay, so it's Nick. Sorry, not Nico. It is Nick that he is chasing. He's currently chasing Nick down. But, I mean, not anymore. Sorry. Nick is chasing him down. But Nick, of course, is back market traffic. So not too much of a stress for Lars. Now, let's have a look at this man, Christian Stricker. Where is he? Christian Stricker, beautiful race from him so far. Leaving his pit, I would say, a bit too late and just not really, you know, getting what he would have wanted out of it. But one person who might get what they want is Orlando Rats. Now, he has had an absolute brilliant few laps, and it looks like Orlando is rejoining quite a bit ahead of Rupert. No, sorry, he isn't. I mean, in terms of seconds, I think he's second off. We'll see once the timing is updated here. But Orlando coming out right in front of Rupert, and Rupert will not be happy about that. Rupert, you know, involved with traffic and not being able to catch at the pace he should. And that undercut, unfortunately, not working for Rupert. They're both now one stop. Who pulls the trigger first? Who is going to dive into the pits once again? Will Rupert do it in attempt to get an undercut? I guess we will see, folks. You know, he is now behind in that Lexus. Let's see what Rats can do in terms of pace. We have seen how rapid Rupert is, but Rats might have some pace up his sleeve that we didn't expect. I'm still waiting for my fellow commentator, Whiskey. I'm just gonna message him here. I'm still waiting for him. Unfortunately, his internet has died, but we hope he gets back soon. Of course, you know, it's, you know, commentating with two people, I think a lot more fun than commentating only with one person. But of course, I am here to do my job, and my job is to, well, commentate this race. So we'll wait for Whiskey. Hopefully he gets back. Whiskey, if you are watching, I hope you do get back, and then we should see him in a few minutes here. We should see him in a few minutes. Ruben van Hudding. Nope. Sorry, I just misclicked there. Ruben van Hudding now pitting, getting one more pit off that score. He should now only have one more pit left after he pits there, which will make him very, very, very happy man. Where is our friend? Where's our friend? I'm trying to find... Where's Chris? Here's Chris. Here is Chris, folks. Chris now has cleared every single one of his pit stop. He now doesn't have to do any more. He's going to the end. He has said, listen, 30 minutes. I'm going to the end. This is all I need, and that might be the best for him. Pulling that trigger early. He now has to try and fight his way up through everyone who still needs to pit, who has pit, and he needs to try and get back in that top 10 where he was before turn 1. I mean, he was in the top 3 before turn 1. So we'll see where Chris ends up, but clearing one of his penalties, that's going to help him. He's going to be very excited about that, and he's going to be able to get his foot down and really get some pace into that car. Felix Rupert still chasing Orlando Rats. Rupert was significantly faster than Rats in the previous lap, but Rats holding him up. Imola, of course, you can overtake at the track, but it is not the easiest thing, especially with these two being so equally matched. You know, really hard for them to get past each other. You know, desperate move is really all they can hope for, and desperation has never been something good in racing. Rupert really just sticking on Rats' bumper. He's gaining. Is he gaining for long? Let's see. We'll see who gets a better exit here. Who gets a better exit onto the start-finish straight. If I do not have it wrong, I think Rats has a bit more straight line speed, so Rupert shouldn't be a threat for him. But let's see, maybe that slipstream from Rupert just helping him enough. Is it helping him enough? He is closing up to Rats. He is close. Does he go for a move? He pulls alongside. No, that's Audi coming out of the pits. Does he dive in front? Oh, he doesn't. Oh, he put up such a good fight. But if that Audi, unfortunately, that pulled out, and he just lost too much pace. But now Rupert closer than ever on Orlando. I imagine, you know, when Rupert's past Orlando is going to immediately pit in attempt to undercut him. But I mean, what a battle that was. You know, Rupert, Rats just couldn't do anything. Rupert was pulling alongside, and then that Audi just caused Rupert to lose that bit of time that he needed. We'll have a look now at... So that was Dominic Illicher pulling up there. Dominic, of course. I don't think Rupert's going to be very happy with with Dominic there. Yeah, Dominic, of course, just going out of the pit. It wasn't his fault. Wrong place, wrong time for Rupert and Rats, but we'll definitely see that battle continue, if not on this next straight. I'm going to keep an eye on them. I'm going to see what happens there. Ruben van Hudding pitting again, and I think he is now pitting to clear. Yes, he is. He's now pitting to clear himself. That puts Chris Witaski now up into P13. Quite a gap in front of him. I think that's 3.7 in front of him. So we'll see what happens there. Timo Braun then in P11. He still has a pit ahead of Witaski. Also has 2 pits. Carroll 2 pits then. And Nico a pit. Illinger a pit. Rupert still has another pit. Rat still has another pit. And everyone above that has more than 2 pits. Olivier, for some reason, I don't quite know why. He is leading the race, yes, but he hasn't pit once yet. Has someone told? Can someone just tell Olivier that this rule is in place, because he's leaving his pits very late and he's not going to come out in a very satisfactory place if he does that. But now P16 here, Hubert gets a drive-through penalty. I assume that's for speeding in the pit lane. That can't feel good at all. That must hurt a lot. Orlando Rats and Rupert, I want to have a look at these two. Still going at it. I mean, these two folks are just relentless. Rats being able to pull a gap on Rupert, but Rupert coming back as if the gap wasn't even there. I mean, that's absolutely amazing, isn't it? This tight racing. That Lexus definitely using that slipstream to its advantage. I do apologize, but you know, let's have a look. See if Rupert can get past Rats. I think he's hoping, but it's the more laps go on, the slimmer his chances look. Christian Stricker, he's happy, content with himself. P5 currently, but he does have 2 stops left, so we'll see what he does. He's content with himself. He will end up, or I believe, if he does his first pit stop, he'll end up in the top 15 somewhere. So we'll see what he does. Of course, not ideal to leave your pit stops for so long, but life is life, and that is how the cake is sometimes cut. Now, going back to Rupert and Rats here, they're going for the final corner. Does Rats have enough of a gap? I think he does. It's 6/10 of gap. Rats just shaking off Rupert as if he has just a fly on his shoulder, and it looks like Rats is going to stay ahead for quite a while. Rupert just not having the pace anymore. That turn 1 was his best chance, and I think it's gone. 1.1 seconds now between the two. Rupert might start thinking of a pit, because him catching Rats just looks like Rats has just gained pace, and Rupert just doesn't have it as far as he is concerned. Now, who can we look up? Samuel, now pitting as well. He was P9 there, so we'll see where he ends up. He shouldn't be dropped too far, but this will give us an idea where Christian will actually drop. Let's have a look. Where is Samuel going to exit? Where is he going to exit? Is Timo going to be able to pass him? Yeah, there goes Timo. Timo pass. I think that's Chris pass as well, or Carol pass as well. Let's have a look. Sam, where do you rejoin? Where do you rejoin? Puts his emergency lights on, and here he rejoins. He is rejoining in a battle, it looks like. I'm not quite sure who that's next to. Is that Ruben van Hudding? No, I do not think so. I'm not quite sure who that was, but we'll have a look who that was. We'll see you later, I guess. We will see you later. So Sam only has 1 stop left in that beautiful McLaren with the Golf livery. Chris up to P13. He is looking very strong for a top 10, if not higher. Definitely what he is aiming for. I mean, hell, he could even get on the podium if he is fast enough and if he is consistent enough. Orlando and Rupert. Rupert pulling out a bit of pace out the bag, but still 1.3 seconds behind Orlando in that third tier now. That is not very good. Can he pull it back? I hope he can, folks, because I would not want to race the C end that way. I would not want to see a race end that way with, unfortunately, that Audi getting in the way. We see Rupert getting 3/10 there on Orlando, but that just, it isn't enough, unfortunately. Still a second gap between the two. Not really what he would have liked. Antoine Olivier, still out. Someone really needs to tell him he needs to pit, because this is not healthy at all. Him staying out this long, definitely not healthy, folks, and definitely not something that he would want. Where do we have any battles on field? I think maybe Lars. Lars has cleared all his pit stops, of course. In front of him then is Hubert. 7/10, could he do it? That BMW does, of course, have amazing acceleration, so we'll see if he can get past. He does pull alongside. Ooh, but it doesn't look like a... Oh, yeah, he's just letting them pass. I think he might just be letting them pass. Does he? Yeah, he just... Okay, so Ruben just letting... sorry, not Ruben. Lars just letting them pass. He knows they're faster, and he is not going to argue with that. Ruben van Hudding still has the fastest lap with a 1:41.650. Of course, a lot of clean air, given him the opportunity to clear his pits and just being able to go for it. Of course, the person who unfortunately he had contact with, Chris Witalski, 2 places higher than him. That's not very ideal, but Carroll did just pit, so let's see if Ruben can overtake Carroll in the pits. He should be able to. I want to stretch it, but I want to say he should be able to. Let's have a look. No? Is he too far? Well, let's have a look. Can Ruben overtake? I don't think he can. I think Carroll was too far ahead there, folks. Yeah, Carroll too far ahead, so Ruben still keeping with that 14th position. He isn't going to be very happy about that, but Carroll does still have a pit stop. 1 pit stop left, so we'll see what happens. But behind Ruben now is the Orlando Rats and Rupert. They're of course lapping faster than almost the whole field, and somehow they haven't set the fastest lap yet. That's still going to Ruben, but I mean, hey, I guess Ruben has the 1 lap pace and he knows how to use it. Federico is in the pits. Nikonov. Oh, actually, I think Federico might have retired. Unfortunately, I don't see him on my list anymore. But Nick is pitting, getting his. Yeah, I think that's okay. So he only won second to last pit stop over, then getting his second to last pit stop over, and then he only has 1 left. Chris Witalski puts him up to P12. That is the good news he would want to hear there. And he is now chasing Sam in front of him. 10-second gap, but Chris can do it. We've seen some amazing stuff from him, and he can definitely do it if anyone can. Christian Stricker still leaving his pits for quite a while. He has 22 minutes left, and he has 2 stops left. That might be a stop every 11 minutes, we do not know. But I imagine he's going to be serving them quite fast, as Olive and Jensen should, because D2 still haven't served a single pit. I don't know what the... Oh, no! Oh, my word! I would want to see that. Olive drifting that Lamborghini. I don't think it was on purpose, but somehow just throws that... catches it as well. Well done, Olive. Well done. What a... Oh, my word. That was absolutely amazing. I'm going to have a rewatch on that on my phone. Beautiful drift there from Olive. I know he probably didn't mean it, but Antoine, well done. You could become a professional... ACC drifter if you would really like. Orlando Lads and Rupert. Looks like Rupert is gaining again. 5/10 last lap, and Rupert has said, listen, I'm going to turn up the heat and you will feel it, because I think Rupert is sick of staying behind and he wants to get past. He does only have 1 pit stop, but so does Orlando. So who is going to pull the trigger first here, folks? Who is it going to be? Will Orlando go for an undercut? Will Rupert go for an undercut? Who's going to do what? As we see that BMW getting out of the way, that shouldn't have cost him too much time there. But I guess we will see. Unfortunately, still no word from my co-commentator Whiskey. I think his internet might not be the best and might not be where it should be. And as I say that, he calls me. As I say that, as I speak of you, Whiskey, you call me. Hi.
Hi. You all good to go?
Yeah, you've missed quite a bit of the race.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But don't worry. Are you back in the session?
Yes, and hopefully everything is resolved. I just did a complete Wi-Fi reset, basically. But yeah,
if you could,
hopefully it works out.
Whiskey, if you could do me a favor, I've been talking for quite a bit, so I'm gonna give it over to you here for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then I will be back.
Awesome. So we have only 2 more people left to do all 3 of their pits. We have 20 minutes left, and they still have to pit 3 times. So very, very interesting tactics if they're just gonna like do all 3 pits right at the end. I mean, it's legal, so if that's what they want to do, then they can definitely do that. And 31 laps into the race, Antoine Olive has 32 seconds on the person right behind him, who is Jensen. And let's see, he has quite the gap between him. Basically the whole grid, it looks like. As Thompson gets a stop-go, 30 seconds, which we talked about before is detrimental to your race. Now that it's 19 minutes left in the race, it's not as bad as right at the beginning of the race that we did see a few people get, but it will still very much affect him, and he will lose positions. As we see Ruben van der Hutting getting the fastest lap of the session, and it looks like people are spreading out quite a bit. We see several seconds between most people. Orlando Rats behind Felix Rupert. I guess I missed that, but only by half of a second, which is incredible. That we've gone almost an hour and they are still right behind each other. That is just very incredible to see. And wow, Felix Rupert going, I'm not quite sure what you guys are looking at, but Felix Rupert just going very late on the brakes there, to try and make up some time between them. I'm sure he's itching to get around him, as Orlando is defending with everything that he has. Ben Thompson, hopefully he does that stop-go penalty soon. He is going into the pits now to do that stop-go 30-second penalty, which we will see him drop down the order. Hopefully not too much for him. Sam Chumley passing the pits right now, has one more pit stop to go, as do quite a bit other people. The only person I see that needs 2 pit stops is Christian Stricker, who is currently P3, and both Antoine Olivet and Romsey Jensen both need 3 pit stops to complete this race. It's almost looking like, I'm very impressed they've made it this whole time without stopping once. 33 laps without stopping once. But yeah, that is good on them. As we see, Thompson should be leaving the pits, actually, maybe not soon, but he will be leaving the pits soon enough. Ruben van der Hutting behind Thompson. Chris Witkowski, P11. So he was able to come back quite a bit after that turn 1 incident. Ruben van der Hutting as well in that incident. Quite unfortunate for those two. And Antoine Olivet, P1 right now currently, which this is a very, very bold strategy for these two, Romsey and Antoine. I wonder if it's going to pay out for them at the end. As we see, coming up on 15 minutes left of the race. See down the order, we have Renoa and Jejura very close together, as well as Jejura goes a little bit wide coming out of that tight turn, and Renoa getting a bit more distance away from him. And yeah, there's we see a good amount of gaps between everybody, as you expect, while we only have 15 minutes left of this 75-minute race. And it looks like it's going to be about a little bit over 40 laps for this race. So far it's been 34 laps.
I can tell you one thing, it is going to be a very action-full last 15 minutes. You know, as you were talking there about Orlando and Felix. Felix actually, for interesting segue, he actually dropped a second and a half at one point behind Rupert, and he's managed to claw that back. But as I said, both still have a pit stop. And I posed the question, who's going to pull the trigger first? And neither of them have. As Rupert goes for a move here. Can he make it? No. It's the same place where he tried last time. He goes to the inside. Will he make that? No, he won't. But he's on. He is on Orlando. Does Orlando keep it? Yes, he does. Rupert there really showing his pace, showing he wants to get past. Is he going to go for another brave strategy in here? No, he's just going to stick right behind Orlando. That is important. There is a hairpin, of course, coming up now. Let's see if he can do anything into here. No, he can't. He's just too far back. I mean, Whiskey, the thing is, as I said, he is itching to get past, you know. We had an incident previously where, you know, Audi was just coming out of the pits, that of Illinger actually, and that unfortunately blocked Rupert slightly from making a move on Orlando. You know, but I mean, as you said, Rupert really desperate now to try and get past Orlando, isn't he?
Definitely, and at that tight corner you were talking about, you could see Rupert went for capitalizing on his exit, or prioritizing his exit as he just took a little bit different racing line on the entry of the turn, and I think he's really got to focus on nailing those apexes and taking as much track as possible without getting a stop-go 30 along the way.
Jensen
but yeah, he's really he really got to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes during this, or it could cost him the win.
Well, I mean, currently it is costing him the win. You know, he's quite a bit behind. How much is that? 6/10 now behind. You know, it isn't much in motorsport, or it isn't much in real life, but in motorsport, you know, just catching 6/10, it is quite a it's quite a gap, isn't it? But yeah, interesting to say, Christian Stricker still has 2 pit stops himself. I don't know what he is playing at, but these guys, everyone who is, all I'm going to say is, Whiskey, is all of these guys who haven't pit yet, they need to pit urgently. You know, we're looking at Chris Witkowski. You know, he's in P10 already, you know, just because he just dumped all his pit stops early and he's just been racing as hard as he could. And I mean, if Sam in front of him pits, and if Luce in front of him pits, and if Braun in front of him pits, he should theoretically be able to make it up to P6. That's right, you know, Chris, who went all the way back on the grid, should still be able theoretically to make it up to P6 in this race. I mean, isn't that just crazy, Whiskey?
Definitely, and I think what they were hoping for in Antoine and Rumsey's case, I think they were hoping that they could get a big enough gap that the pits at the end wouldn't be as much of an impact, and I guess we'll see. I'm sure Antoine knows that he's going to lose a good amount of places when he pits, but it's yet to be seen if that has made an impact on where he will finish up versus where he started.
Well, he does need to start pitting urgently, otherwise he isn't going to have enough time and he'll be disqualified. But we're not thinking about that right now. All sunshine and rainbows. And yeah, we'll wait. Antoine he needs to pit. Hopefully he's aware that he needs to pit. I assume he is. But yeah, 11 minutes and 30 seconds. A bit too tight of a gap for my liking personally. Whiskey for 3 pit stops. Still with Chris Witkowski here. I'm actually just waiting for Sam to pit, honestly. That's kind of what I'm waiting for, you know. Sam, of course, extremely good driver, but he does still have a pit, 11 minutes. He could do it at any time, but I mean, you don't want to do it too close to the end, do you? You do want to get a few racing laps in. You know, someone like Jensen, Christian Stricker, you know, even Orlando Rats and Rupert, I think they're all aware of it. And I think they know that if they want to get any racing in at the end, they have to pull the trigger, they have to pit, because if they don't, it's just going to cost them more and more time, unfortunately.
Just like Timo has just gone into the pits, he has pulled the trigger, and that will be the last stop he needs for this race. After that, he is done with pitting for this race.
Timo, let's see where he ends up. He should be able to come out in front of Nico. We'll have a look at that. He should actually be able to come out in front of Chris. Let's have a look. No, I don't think I think Chris might just be a bit too fast. Yeah, he is. Chris is a bit too fast. Is Nico too fast? It's going to be tight with Nico. It's going to be very... Yeah, Nico's too fast as well. Nico's going to pass him as well. Yeah, but he should come out right behind Nico. I do want to have a talk real quick. So, we were talking here about Witkowski, right? Beautiful race from him. But Ruben van Hudding, you know, of course, unfortunately they had an accident. Ruben van Hudding in P12, which is, you know, taking all into account, you know, not as bad. He's gained quite a few positions, and him and Chris are, you know, genuinely decently close to each other. Which, you know, I think they'll both, of course, you know, the start incident that was bad, but hey, crap happens. Christian Stricker in for his pit. As before I continue with what I want to say, Christian Stricker pitting, deciding he has to before it gets a bit too close. Olivier still not pitting. Olivier, you need to pit. Someone needs to tell him. It is like, it's genuinely important. But I do want to have a quick talk real quick. Yeah, so like I was saying about Ruben, of course, I'm not very happy about what happened between him and Witkowski, but I think he might be happy. He might still be able to get into the top 10 if he has a really good race. What do you think, Whiskey? I mean, you know, working your way up from there, you know, both Chris and Ruben's perspectives, working your way up from almost dead last. What do you think's kind of their mindset?
Yeah, of course they're gonna be, you know, it's very unfortunate, and they're gonna not be as happy as they would have been if they hadn't crashed out initially. But it was a good recovery drive, and I think they'll just be happy when this race is over, to be honest.
Definitely will. Any points is good points. Am I right? Any points
Definitely
is good points for these guys. Yeah, Rupert and Rats, they have something up their sleeve. I think they're both doing very quick pit stops because... By the way, okay, wait, before I talk about them, is Antoine aware he still needs to do 3 stops? Is he aware of this?
I think he is. I think he's just getting kind of
I mean,
he's
he needs to be getting
just kind of pushing it.
He needs to be getting to his, like, he needs to pit urgently because otherwise he won't have enough time. Like, Antoine, I don't know who's telling you not to pit, but don't listen to them. You need to pit. You need to pit urgently. Listen to us, man. You need to pit. You still have 3 pit stops. Box. But yeah, no, as I was saying about Orlando and Rupert, I think they both have really short stops left because that would be the only reason why they would be leaving this.
There goes Antoine. Sorry to interrupt you, but there goes Antoine into the pits for his first pit stop.
Finally.
And I'm assuming the next laps he's just going to be going through the pits. It's going to be very interesting to see where he comes out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, it's always good when you interrupt me. What if I miss something, you know? Chris Witkowski up to P8. Beautiful from him. He is still behind Sam. Sam still has not pit yet, and Chris Stricker also has not pit yet. So we'll see what happens there. Jensen also now pitting. Jensen, of course, having to pit. I think he's clearing his second pit stop right now to only make it 1. Chris should come out next. Where's has Chris passed him? Yeah, I think Chris has. Okay, so Chris now up to a theoretical P7. And he should, as I said, be able to get into P6 after Sam pits. And then, hey, if he's really fast, maybe even P5 if Christian pits. So we'll have a look at that a bit later. Oh, as Jensen! Oh, that's bad. He was speeding. I think that was for speeding in the pit lane. I'm decently sure. Gets a stop and go. No, that has to ruin. That has ruined his race. He only had 1 pit stop left, and now he has to basically serve 2. But the one is just an unproductive pit stop, isn't it? As we see Illinger now into the pits as well. That's Dominic, of course, into the pit. I think he'll be caught by Christian. I think Christian should catch him. But yeah, that's bad, isn't it, Whiskey? Getting a stop and go this late in the race? I mean, that must be sad.
Yeah, I think it's good and it's bad. It's good because there's going to be more gaps between the cars, but it's also bad because he can't make up time. I mean, wherever he comes out after his last pit is where he's basically going to be because there's so little time. He needs to serve that stop go now so that he has time to do his 1 last pit stop.
Definitely.
We have 5 minutes left of the race.
Definitely. Illinger cleared his pit stops. What number is he? 716. Yeah, so Chris has gotten past him. Actually, a bunch of people have gotten past him. Wow, that's quite surprising. Chris Witkowski not getting... wait, did Chris Witkowski get past him? Let's have a look real quick. Did Chris Witkowski get past? I don't think he did, no. He's way too far back. But that's fine. Unfortunately not going to get past Illinger, you know, unless Illinger makes a big mistake. But, well, I mean, I guess we'll see, you know. Anything can happen in racing, can't it? Anything can happen. But the talk of the day, still these two guys, all at the top. Antoine, of course, going for his second pit stop now. Orlando Rats and Rupert. 5 minutes left. Whiskey. And they still haven't served their last pit stops. I mean, they're just... It's dangerous at this point. Like, you know, I mean, being this close, listen, guys, anything can go wrong. You can get a stop and go for 30 seconds, boys. You guys need to pit. I have a feeling... I have a feeling Rupert's almost going to pit. I don't know what, but I have a feeling Rupert's almost going to pit. But we'll see if anything comes to life. Comes from that.
I think it would make sense for Rupert to try and pit first. But honestly, with this little time left, I wouldn't be surprised if they literally both just went into the pit lane together.
I think they'll have to. Let's see. Maybe they do. Do you guys want to pit together? It's like a musical, isn't it? Them pitting together. Antoine Olivier currently in P3. Antoine actually might be able to get a good result here. I mean, he's P3. There's, I think, a 38-second gap behind him to Christian. Yeah, a 38-second gap. So, oh no, sorry, it isn't 38. No, but it's.
That might.
Sorry, it isn't.
Yeah, that might change.
Yeah, I think. No, actually, I'm not quite sure what. Because that gap is either between Christian and Antoine, or is between Christian and Sam. I'm not quite sure. Point being, Antoine honestly could still get a top 10 in this race. You know, which I think, as he said, you know, he isn't used to being, you know, on, as he, you know, we interviewed him last time, and, you know, he kind of said the top 3 isn't really his place.
Rupert is staying out.
Oh, but Orlando pits. Rupert, oh, yeah. So Orlando undercutting Rupert then. Now, wow. I think Rupert tried that and it didn't work. So now's the question is, right, will it work for Orlando? Can he do it?
This is going to be very interesting to see, because he's going to, this is going to cut it very close with these 5 drivers that, or well, 4 drivers, because Orlando is done having to pit still. They're going to have to pit this lap. If they don't pit this lap, they will be disqualified. And yeah, there goes Antoine into the pits for the last time.
Where
no stop go 30 for him.
Oh yeah, luckily. Well, not yet. It could still change. Unfortunately,
yeah,
it could still change. We'll have a look.
Sam Chumley also into the pits, and Christian should go into the pits as well. This is going to be very close because, well, I guess as long as he passes the start-finish in these 2 minutes, Felix should be fine.
But Felix will be fine, but the thing is he needs to pit.
Oh,
he needs to pit.
Ollie Stricker getting a drive-through penalty as well.
This late. No, yeah. Oliver. No.
He's going to lose, it looks like probably 1 or 2 positions off of that. And here goes Felix into the pits. Oh, make sure you slow down. There we go.
He did, but barely. Rupert's in the pits now. Okay, so he has to be in the pits. So, what kind of stop does Rupert have? Orlando quite a bit behind. Oh, Rupert has to need it. This is going to go down to the wire, isn't it? This is going to go down to the wire. So. Orlando's catching very fast. Rupert needs to pit. Rupert, stop. Let's see how fast this is. I think Orlando's going to catch him. I think Orlando might have just secured this win. Oh, it's going to be close. Rupert. It's going to be extremely close. Rupert pulling out now. Oh my word. What's going to happen? Orlando is closing at a speed of none. He is going to be faster than Rupert. And Orlando Rats, folks, is now going to be overtaking Rupert. And he's a lot faster. And Orlando Rats is in the lead. That strategy not working out for Rupert. And Rupert now has been demoted down into P2. He is close, but he isn't close enough to make any sort of move or impact. Folks, Orlando Rats. It's a bit early, but I think, unless he does something horrible here, Whiskey, I think he secured the bag. I think he has secured this.
Yeah, I think all Orlando needs to do at this point is to just have a nice clean lap. And yeah, that was smart move on Orlando's part. He gained about 2.5 seconds by undercutting Rupert. and doing a very fast lap out of the pits with those. He might have switched tires, or it could also have been what they did in the pits themselves, whether or not they, added more or less fuel. But yeah, Orlando Rats 3.6 seconds ahead of Felix Rupert as the race is coming to a close.
Oh no, definitely. If you could just check your messages there, Whiskey. But yeah, folks, Orlando Rats, pulling an absolute magnificent. I'm just gonna switch voice chats here. Pulling an absolute magnificent trick, I would say there, and pulling this win, putting it in the bag. Rupert led for so long, but not anymore, folks. The winner of the penultimate race of the Nations Cup of 2S is Orlando Rats, followed by Felix Rupert. He's going to be very, very, very upset. Illinger, Dominic Illinger in that Audi. Didn't talk a lot about him, but damn, it was a good race from him as well. Getting into P3, and here it is. Whiskey in P4. We have the man himself. I told you he would come back, and boy did he prove us right. Misker Chris Witowski heading in to P4. Fourth, all the way from back of the grid. He made a mistake, and he is one place away from where he started. He's going to be happy with that. Nico Veltman then coming up into P5, followed, may I say, Whiskey, by P6 Antoine Olivet. P7 goes to Ben Lewis. P8 looks like go to Sam, P9 to Timo, and P10 to Christian Stricker. Ruben Van Hunning in P11, then P12 is this. P12 goes to Ryan Noppen.
Noppen. Yep.
And P13 Lars, and they're very slow. Yeah, that's P13 to Lars, P14 to Carol, and P15 to Bailey. We are going to send a message in the chat here in a second, everyone, to see if we can get one or two interviews rolling. I think Mr. Whiskey is going to do that for us. P16 it goes to Kennedy. P17 goes to Andrew. P15 goes to Thompson. For some reason my thing is a bit screwed. P16 goes to Moulton. P17 to who is that? Hubert. P18 then to Carol. P19 to Sam. And nope, that isn't right. Whatever happens. Oh well. P20 to Nick, it looked like. But yeah, everyone, what a race. Absolutely amazing. Whiskey, what was your opinion on that race?
From what I saw, it was a good race. I think Orlando and Rupert doing a great job, and I think the strategy, like we said at the beginning of the race, was a very important part of the finishing order, and we did see the two top guys finish top two, but behind that, I mean, Chris Witowski able to improve and get that high up, I think that was awesome.
It definitely was. It definitely was. 3 pit stops, I think, was a bit too much for some people. But yeah. What an amazing race. I'm honestly speechless. My voice is tired. I'm speechless. That was just an amazing race, Whiskey. I don't think that race could have gone any better. I think it was just absolutely perfected, wasn't it? Well done to everyone who came up with the idea. I wouldn't have been able to. I would not have been able to. We'll see. We have asked if we can. We have asked if we can get some interviews. Let's see if they respond. Hopefully they do respond. If they don't, we'll just have to entertain them, won't we? We'll just have to entertain them.
That was the strategy at the end was very, very. It was very interesting to see how it improved, or how they how the results changed from the pit strategy, and it was very interesting to see the different pit strategies that they used with Antoine's strategy and Ramsey's strategy, staying out so long. It was really cool. It was really cool.
No, it definitely was. It definitely was. We're gonna try and get Antoine or Chris in here. Um, see if we can get them in here. But no, as you said, the thing is about this format that I've realized is about the changing formats. It's the drivers. It's really unpredictable, and the drivers kind of have to like adapt to it. And I do think Whiskey that to a certain extent, I think they struggle with adapting to the different race formats. But of course, that's what the series is all about. Can I?
Well, you know, we were kind of itching for Antoine to pit, but he started P12 and he finished P6. So with his strategy and his consistency, he got up 6 positions.
I mean, as you said, we were itching for it, but it shows work. It goes a certain distance. I do have to say, well done from both those. As we are joined by one of them, we're going to wait for Chris here in a second. But Mr. Antoine,
Hello, boy.
what a race! I mean, unfortunately, not as high as last race. I don't think.
Yeah.
But I mean, come
What a
on.
disappointment.
That's an amazing race, wasn't it? Off the start you were decently consistent, and then you just didn't pit. We were waiting the whole race for you to pit, and you just said no, I'm not going to pit. And then at the end, you squeezed in 3 pit stops, and I think something like 7 minutes.
Yeah, just 3 laps in a row. Went to the pits.
Of course, you, as you said, went from P12 to P6. But I mean, what inspired that strategy? To say, yeah, I'm just going to wait till the end, till the last 3 laps, pit, and just hope I get in a decent place.
Well, to me it makes sense because I didn't intend to take tires because I didn't think it would be enough because you need 30 seconds to take tires.
Yeah.
In the pit stop. So no tires meant I could pit whenever I wanted, and then you want to maximize how much you run on low fuel. So you want to take the fuel as late as possible. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, I mean, it makes sense, but wouldn't it have been maybe wise to just fuel your car up at the start and just like add like small amounts throughout the race? Or do you think, doing everything
I did fuel the car up at the start. I just needed to 15 liters more at the end, but it makes more sense to put them at the end rather than in the middle because you are lighter overall on average.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And you're trying to build up that gap behind you as well, right?
Yeah, and I was in clean air, so no point to in pitting. Like I was in clean air, I could do my laps. There was Bailey behind me. We're in VC together, and we're just working together. So there was no threat from him. And yeah.
Yeah, Ramsey did the almost identical strategy to you, except he was unfortunate enough to get a stop go 30. So that kind of screwed up that plan for him. But for you, it worked basically perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was quite careful with the pit entry. I know it's a bit tricky at Imola because it's a bit bumpy and you cannot see the board and you're coming very fast. So I was like, I prefer to lose 1 second on the pit entry and not risk stop and go. And yeah, maybe if I had gone a bit faster, I could have had Nico, but that was very close at the end. But, well.
I do have to say, it's brilliant to go from P12 to P6. What was, how can I say this? Seeing all those people pit behind you, throughout the race, were you at one point like tempted to say, maybe I should change my strategy, or was it just a point where you said, listen, or at the start of the race, did you just say, I'm fully committing to my strategy, no matter what happens, I'm pitting at the end, I've got my car fueled up, I'm going for it. Were you tempted at all to change your strategy through the race? Did you think there might have been better options, or were you just fully committed and said, listen, I need to do this, it's, I can't just play it out?
Yeah, I mean, like, for the fueling at the end, I was really sure that it was the most efficient thing. Like, I trust my reasoning on that, so like, yeah, I was pretty sure I needed fuel at the end. The thing that we were discussing in VC with Christian Stricker was whether it was intelligent to pit 3 laps in a row, because each time you pit, then your tires get colder because you're not racing and so you would get very cold tires on the exit of the third lap. But my opinion was that if you pit 3 laps in a row, since your tires take kind of 2 laps to heat up, well, that means that if you do 3 pit stops normally, that's 6 laps at reduced speed because you're heating up your tires. But if you do 3 laps in a row, then it's just 4 laps at reduced speed. So I took the bet. I wasn't sure that this would work, but actually I got out with tires that were not that cold, not colder than on the exit of a normal pit stop. So yeah, I mean, if I didn't outbrake myself in turn 1, I might have kept Nico behind. It would have been difficult though, because first few corners tires were so not up to temp.
But hey, even if they weren't up to temp, still a great result. Went 6 positions up. Yeah, amazing. Whiskey, anything you want to ask further?
Just that was that was a ballsy move. Congratulations.
Thanks guys.
Yeah, honestly, congratulations with that result, Antoine. Another amazing race from you. I don't know how you keep surprising us every race, but I hope you do it for the last race as well. We can't wait to see what you do. Gonna be a very interesting format. But yeah, no, honestly, well done. Have a great one. And I mean, I guess you can go, I don't want to say celebrate a bit, but I mean, 6 positions isn't too bad for the standings.
It isn't though. Team Italy is gonna be in dire straits because we've got a lot of drivers sent, and yeah, George was not racing, Jasper and Rene were not racing, so yeah, probably the result for Team Italy is not going to be very good today.
Now we'll see what happens. Thank you so much, Antoine. We do appreciate, and we'll see you a bit later.
Good night, boys.
Okay, night. Okay, now let's have a talk. I'm just asking him if he's ready, but he did say I can drag him whenever. So do we drag him up?
Yeah.
Do we drag him down?
Let's do it.
Ooh, Mr. Chris Witowski?
Yeah.
Were you in the middle of a conversation, or can we interrupt?
Nope.
Okay, I'm glad. Chris, to say you went, 1 position down, or you ended 1 position down from where you qualify, I think was would be an understatement. I mean, unfortunately, that moment at the start that we'll ask you in a second here, that moment at the start with Ruben, and then somehow, I don't know how, but you got back to the last grid and slowly just worked your way up to P4. First thing I want to ask you, of course, is that incident in turn 1. What was your view on it? What went wrong? Was it your fault? Was it Ruben's fault? What happened? Yeah, just give me kind of a rundown. In your view, what happened?
In the heat of the moment, I was obviously screaming like a 7-year-old child that it wasn't my fault, and Ruben just turned it on me. But it's clearly that was my fault. I went just deep because I saw him braking later, and I already could see in my mind that okay, he's gonna drive around fast around me, and everyone's gonna get through.
Yeah.
So I just kind of panicked. I went into him. I already apologized to him. Yeah, that was kind of stupid. But then afterwards, I had to change the strategy a lot. So, well, the plan by default was to pit for tires after like 35-40 minutes, and then do 2 stops for 1 liter at the end of the race. But it ended up to be whenever I was catching traffic, I was just pitting for 1 liter. Again, I caught traffic. I was again pitting for 1 liter. And then, when it was 30 minutes to go and I had to do the bigger refuel, I felt like, well, pitting for 60 liters is 15 seconds, pitting for tires and 60 liters is 30 seconds. I have 30 minutes to go. I would need to catch 5 tenths per minute, so it is like 9 tenths per lap. So I was like, no, it's not gonna work out, so I didn't take tires, and the setup actually could handle it quite well and keep them in a good shape.
Whiskey?
I just say that was a good recovery, like going
yeah,
from.
I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. You should be.
Yeah, that was good. We were talking about how just how do you like feel after a recovery race? Like, obviously there's the kicking yourself that there's something happened turn 1 or lap 1 in that race, and it brought you way down to where you started, but then you're able to get those at least some of those back.
Well, I'm 50-50 or more like 25-75. I'm more not happy than happy, because I feel like I could have challenged for the win today without that silly mistake. But well, it happened. I had to manage it. And, yeah.
I mean, because you
If
were
something bad happens, you just have to make it the best.
Definitely.
in qualifying. We saw you were like what, less than a tenth and a half off. Who was it? Who was it that was leading qualifying? Rupert, I guess Rupert.
That's
Yeah.
sad, because I also could get pole. I was 2 tenths up on my last lap.
Oh no, Chris, come on. But
yeah, everything would have gone different after that. But yeah, we don't know. Maybe I would have get punted in turn 1 by someone behind me.
I would hope you wouldn't
We'll
get
never know.
punted.
We'll never know.
Yeah,
But it's
well. Yeah. Good luck next week. Next week is the last race of this kind of mini series. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, I guess. Yeah,
well,
thank you
congratulations
for
as far as it can go, I guess.
Yeah.
the commentary. Yeah. Thank you for the commentary, guys. Good night.
Any day, night. Yeah, a whiskey. What a race. You know, full of unfortunate stuff. You know, we couldn't have predicted that, even if we wanted to. You know, unfortunately, Rupert losing out to Rats. You know, that just shows you one single moment can change your whole race. Unfortunately, I think that's definitely gonna hurt Rupert for a bit. But yeah, to sum this up, what was your view on the race?
I thought it was pretty exciting, especially with the pit stop stuff and just, you know, seeing how these different pit strategies can affect the order. Yeah, I thought it was a really good race. I love Imola, and we saw some good racing today.
We definitely did. Well, folks, it's been an extremely exciting race. It has really showed us what these drivers can do and what happens when they push themselves to the limits. This was, of course, the penultimate round of this series. The next one will be in a week's time. We are heading to Suzuka for our season finale. Qualifying will be 15 minutes. It starts at 19:30 Central European Time, same as it did today. And then the race will start same as it did today as well, 19:40 Central European Time, and it will be 120 minutes. Whiskey, 2 hours. It's just getting longer and longer. I mean, at this point, I wonder if they're punishing us as commentators, just extending what we can do. But no, definitely, folks, we can't wait to see you all there. We do hope to see you all there. Please do remember, if you aren't already, join the 2S. Join the Discord. Follow us on everything. Subscribe. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. We do appreciate it, from myself and Whiskey. Yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, and I guess see ya!